The return of the sausages. The return of the sausages. The return of the sausages. The return of the sausages.
Warning. This podcast is not vegetarian or vegan friendly.
Snorkers. Good-o.
Prick with a fork. 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 Prick with a fork.
Hello, yes, we are back for 2025. It is Prick with a Fork, the world's only regular podcast all about sausages. I say regular. I think I'm guilty of being semi-regular. Over the last few months, there has been a reason for this. We did aim to have this podcast made on a monthly basis. Then I decided to change my career and go back to the world of media. So you might see me popping up on the telly, reviewing the newspapers, or talking about political commentary, or hearing me on the radio, or podcasts that contain stuff about politics. It has been really busy, and consequently, Prick with a Fork for 2025 has taken about 6 weeks to get up and running. Anyway, this is the first episode of 2025. It is published on Valentine's Day as well, so we can mutually celebrate our love of the good old-fashioned banger, the snorker, the British sausage. And if you want to get in contact with me at all, a number of ways, including a new way you can keep up to date with some of the stuff we're doing. So the podcast is called Prick with a Fork. You find it on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. It's been running for a number of years now, and as a result of that, there's a massive back catalogue of episodes going back a number of years. So you'll find those on Spotify and on Apple Podcasts. If you want to get in contact social media-wise, on Facebook, we have a dedicated Facebook page. It is simply called Prick Fork. So become a friend on there and like us. That'll be fantastic. Get involved. So that's Facebook, Prick Fork is what you're looking for. On Instagram, you can find me, the Duncan Barkes, as probably the best place to check out what I'm up to. The T-H-E, Duncan, D-U-N-C-A-N, Barkes, B-A-R-K-E-S, the Duncan Barkes. Some sausage stuff on there, but also other stuff as well. And what I've done since we last spoke, I've put us on a thing called Substack. I've been looking for a while for a place where I can combine the podcasts that we do and some of the writing and recipes that we do regarding sausages, because obviously recipes don't really work on a podcast. I can give you a flavour of some of the sausages that have been made, etc., but it's better if it's written down somewhere on a screen. So you might not be aware of Substack. It's a relatively new platform, very big in the USA. In fact, we already have some subscribers in the USA who like what we do regarding sausages. So if you go to Substack, just search for me, Duncan Barkes, or search for All About Sausages, because that is the name of the Substack. So you just go onto your Google, type in Substack, and when it comes up, there'll be a search bar. Click, and then type in All About Sausages, and my sausage Substack will appear. Now, you can subscribe to it free of charge, and that is what I want you to do. There is a mechanism there where you can have paid for subscriptions, but I've only got that on there because at some point, if we build the Substack to a good level and you're really liking what we're doing and you want some exclusive content, then if you lob £1 a month my way or something, then you'll have access to stuff that other people don't have access to. But that's way off in the future. We do have some paid for or paid subscribers already, which is lovely, and thank you for your support. But I don't want you to get frightened. I'm not trying to fleece you. This is simply about having a platform that creates a community for all things sausage related, both the audio stuff, this podcast, and also the written word as well. So it's Substack, search for All About Sausages, and when it comes up, read what's already on there. It's free of charge to read. If you press subscribe, then you can subscribe on a free basis, which means you will automatically be updated whenever I do a posting or I do another podcast. So it's brilliant, all right? It sends you an email the moment there's new content. And go and have a look at it, because there's some great stuff on there at the moment. There's some stuff about mustard. I think I have found the definitive mustard, the mustard you must have if you love your mustard with your sausages. And it's an English mustard as well. You can read all about that. And also, I had to make some sausages a few weeks ago for a mate of mine I didn't have to, but I wanted to. You know, I inhabit a world now where lots of my mates, we're all middle-aged, we have health issues, okay? Nothing serious, but, you know, the doctor goes, your blood pressure is really high. Stop having so much salt. So I had a message from a chum of mine who said, I'm really craving sausages, but they've got loads of salt in. Don't suppose you could make me some bangers that contain 0 salt? And I ummed and ahed about this, because as you all know, salt is a flavour enhancer, but also a preservative. But I came up with a recipe, and I made him some bangers that didn't have any salt in. And you can look at them and read all about them on the Substack. So it's really worth checking out. Just search for Substack on your search engine. When it comes up, type in all about sausages. You'll see my ugly mug there. You'll see a load of pictures of sausages and stuff. Hit the subscribe button. And then in the future, you'll get automatically updated whenever there's some sausage content, like a podcast or a recipe or whatever. Right, what do you need to know about this episode? Well, I'm going to shut up in a second, and I'm going to be joined by someone who, if you are a regular listener to this podcast, you will know him. He's been on past episodes. His name is Rory McAllister. He's a sports journalist. He's a tremendous broadcaster. But most importantly, he's a big sausage fan. And we're doing a joint taste test on this episode. In the past, we've done farm shops and various butchers that do mail order, but we've made an editorial decision to do a lot more supermarket sausages. So the kind of caveat that goes with that is, right, there will be chemicals in the sausages, there will be preservatives. That's why when you go to your supermarket, you look at the sausages, the date will be sort of like, you know, used by, I don't know, the 27th of March, and it might only be the last week in February. The reason that you can stick them in the fridge for so long is because they're rammed full of chemicals and preservatives. If you don't want any of that muck in your body, do what I do and make your own sausages from time to time, because you know what's in them. However, we are realists on Prick with a Fork. Most people don't have the time to make their own sausages. Most people don't have a decent butcher or a farm shop, so they get their sausages from a supermarket. So what we've done, and what we will continue to do to make sure more and more people can try the sausages that we've been trying, is we will do stuff that you can buy in your supermarket. And the supermarket on this particular episode is Tesco, right? And Tesco is blooming everywhere. So we're going to check out some of their semi-posh sausages, do a taste test, and you can hear the results of that taste test in a few moments' time. And of course, always an open invitation. If you want to kind of play along with us as well, buy these sausages. They're available in every Tesco across the United Kingdom. The big ones. I mean, if you've got a Tesco Express, don't think they'll stock them. But you've got a Tesco Superstore, and let's be honest, every city has, pretty much every town has. You can get some of these sausages there. If you want to play along, do your own taste test and get in contact with me, either on Instagram or Facebook, or indeed via the Substack. I'd love to hear your thoughts on the sausages. Right, let's crack on.
Prick with a Fork.
It's welcome back to the podcast. It's welcome back to, well, I noticed the email you sent me. You signed yourself Rosa. Is that your nickname, Rory McAllister?
I think it's something you used to call me. Most people call me Raws for
Raws.
short, but I think at some point I seem to remember years ago, because some listeners, of course, may know that we have now known each other for 18 years.
Yeah.
Amazingly, and I think Rosa was something that you called me at some point.
Yeah, this is
when we used to do those.
Yeah, well,
driving back from Liverpool.
Yeah, and when I was your boss.
Yeah, that's right.
I must have liked you if I called you Rosa, because I wouldn't have bothered
I used to
otherwise.
just say yes. Yeah, I say yes to anything you said.
Yeah.
And agreed.
Well, I'm delighted that you're here 18 years later, and thank you once again for coming on Prick with a Fork, the world's only regular sausage podcast. And we're going to do some taste testing here. And just apologies, really. I made some apologies earlier on this episode, but it's been a while. But we are back with a vengeance, and we decided on this particular session to find some sausages that everyone can try, because we often make the point, rightly so, that some of the sausages we try aren't necessarily available right across the United Kingdom. You've been good enough to source some local butchers where you live, and they do mail orders. So the last couple of episodes we did some mail order sausages which people could have access to. On this one, it is a sausage that's available in pretty much every Tesco in the United Kingdom. Now, there's a little bit of a backstory to this, because you suggested we should try these and do a little taste test and just generally wang on about these bangers. What's the backstory?
The backstory is that my sister is a big fan of one of the Worcester-based butchers that we reviewed.
Yeah.
But she sent me a photo saying these are lush.
Yeah.
That's all she said. These are lush, and sent me a photo of Tesco's Finest, but their signature pork sausages.
Yeah.
So you get 4 in a box. So you've got to be careful because there are the Tesco Finest pork sausages as well. They come in a pack of 8, but these are the signature ones, which is why I've paired them today with the signature Henry Weston. So I'm just mentioning another.
Go on, open that bottle.
Brand.
Open it. Go on.
Oh.
I'm remaining dry for this particular recording because I have to drive later to pick my kid up from university. So you'll have to do the drinking for both of us. And what I like about these particular sausages, and you're right to make the distinction, so they're Tesco Finest, and everyone will know there is a Finest brand in Tesco. But the key word here is signature. And they're really going for that almost slightly rustic look. Because sometimes if you go to posh butchers, they'll wrap your sausages up in some nice brown paper. What the packaging here for these signature pork sausages as part of the Tesco Finest range, it's a lovely brown box. So aesthetically and the marketing here, it just screams out, oh, you're getting something a little bit special here, lads. Something that's premium, something that's worth paying for. And let's talk about the price, because in my Tesco, I have to say, I don't normally go to Tesco because the one in Chichester in West Sussex is bloody big and it's always nuts and full of people and I don't have the patience. But I made a pilgrimage there and it was quite an interesting experience. So the sacrifices I make for this particular sausage podcast is vast. The woman told me off for not having a club card. Do you know what she said at the end of it? Because I went in there and I bought these. I bought a bottle of red wine, obviously. What else did I buy? I bought some Tabasco sauce and some mackerel fillets, because that's how I roll. And she put it all through the till, and then she just went, "You don't have a club card, do you?" And I said, "No." She went, "Well, I could have saved you £1.50. I was like, all right, love, back in your box. Anyway, the reason I'm talking about this is where I bought these from, the 4 signature pork sausages as part of the Tesco Finest range, £4. But if you had a club card, £3.50.
I paid £3.50 for mine.
You got a club card?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, wise. So I think that's a good price, because we often talk about, when we do taste tests, the value for money aspect of the sausage. So 4 signature pork sausages, and people might be thinking, hang on a second, if you don't have a club card, that's basically £1 a sausage, isn't it? Right? Because it's £4 without the club card. That's a little bit pricey, but we should make the point that these sausages are big, right? They're not necessarily long, are they? But they are a proper sized banger. And we always talk about how that looks on the plate, and automatically when I unwrapped these, I had a sniff. I don't know if you had a sniff, but I had a sniff.
Not yet. I've got 2 in front of me.
No, I meant before I cooked them. And
before you cooked
I had
them.
a sniff, and it was a proper meaty banger. It was like you could tell it was going to be good, and they look good. And it's the kind of banger you would have with your bangers and mash, because it has that. They're chunky, right? They're so chunky. So it's 4 signature pork sausages. If you haven't got a club card like Rory has, it's £1 a sausage. But I would say already, given the size, it is worth that. It is worth that. What's your take on the packaging, Rory, and what you've seen so far?
Yeah, again, I agree with everything you say, that they've gone for this sort of brown cardboard look. I mean, they boast that they're outdoor bred as well. There's like a stamp over the illustration of the pig, and rich and succulent are the 2 words that they use to promote these 4 signature sausages. And then there's an asterisk which says, hand-selected succulent cuts of British pork with roasted pork stock and a blend of authentic herbs and spices. Then I've looked on the back. First thing I do now, Duncan, and it's because of Prick with a Fork that I do this. Immediately I check the casings. It's the first thing I look for now. And it's all your fault.
And let's remind people why we check the casings.
It's because so many sausages these days are actually made by calcium alginate, which is essentially seaweed. Bloody
seaweed. How do we end up in a country, I'm going to go off on one now, how do we end up in a country that's known for its great British banger, and we allow some old slick-jawed git to come along and just go, oh, do you know what, we won't use hog casings anymore, we'll get something created out of seaweed. What's that about? But thankfully, these ones proper hog
natural
casings.
pork casings. Yeah.
Which is good.
Natural.
And the second thing that we always look at on the ingredients is the volume of pork in there. This is quite a healthy 85%. I'm a bit snobbish. I'd like to see it above that at 90%. However, we'll taste them in a second, and it may change my view a little bit. But 85% pork content, that's pretty decent, isn't it?
Well, I tend to find, having spoke to, there's the two butchers that we've reviewed in the last two episodes of Prick with a Fork, or Pwaff, as we can call it. Pwaff.
Yeah.
Pwaff, we can call it for short. But I found that most butchers' pork content is actually between the 75 to 85 marker. Yeah. There's those heck ones that you've reviewed, which I think are as high as 97 or something, aren't they?
Yeah.
So I agree in part, but what I've learned to discover is that even the 85 pork content percenters, yes, that means 15% is other stuff, as you always call it, and then sometimes you've read out the other stuff. Yeah. But actually, they tend to taste quite good, the 85 percenters, and I'm raring to get going on these.
All right, well, before we let you chomp down...
We can't rush in.
No, we can't. We should just go through the other ingredients. It's worth making the point, and we talk about making your own sausages on this podcast, which is what I started doing years ago, because you know what's in there. You don't have to have the chemicals or the preservatives in the way that a supermarket sausage does. And even though these are signature pork sausages, rich and succulent as part of the Finest range from Tesco's, as you would expect, they need to have quite a few chemicals in there for the shelf life. So it's just worth bearing that in mind. I'm not being overtly critical, but it is a supermarket sausage, so you've got a massive list of goodness knows what in here, but also some of the flavourings. What are you laughing at?
Goodness knows what. And we're about to explain what goodness knows what actually is.
No, I'm not going to go through the diphosphate, the sodium, the tetropotassium, or the diphosphate.
Stabilizers.
You know,
stabilizers. What on earth?
What I will mention is
bamboo fibre.
I know, bit of Hessian in there. They've got black pepper. They have sage. They've got mace. They've got nutmeg. They have cayenne pepper, and also a little bit of paprika extract to give it some colour, it says in brackets here. So that's a kind of flavour. But to be clear, they're selling this as just a quality pork sausage. They're not saying it's pork plus another herb. So they say, look, this is a good, expensive, I would say, banger. And we've got some stuff in here to flavour it to make it as nice as possible. Right, I know you're salivating at the moment. I should just say, I've got a couple here. So you cooked yours. I cooked mine earlier. It's a packet of 4. I've already had 2. One because I've got 0 willpower. And, well, that's basically it, really. I've got 0 willpower. So I had 2 earlier, and I'm going to have 2 now. And when I took them out of the oven, they smelt immense. They smelt so good. Do you want to have a little sniff of yours there?
Yeah, I would, because Mrs. M made these. My wife's just brought these up from the oven. Just to say as well, one of the ingredients, onion powder, which I know is one of the big herbs and spices for the Colonel's secret recipe at KFC. Yeah. I know that a lot of the it's based on onion powder, but like you said, Duncan, I've used the what I call the Barkes oven method, which is yours. Which is to put them in. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, to put them in the oven. Yeah. Around 180. Yeah. And on some baking sheets. Yes. Which, if they curl up, if you've got a roll, this is a great hack that Duncan gave us on a few podcasts ago. If they roll up on the tray, scrunch it up into a ball, into your fist, and then you can unfold it, and then the paper will behave exactly how you want it to. You can fold and maneuver it into all sorts of. It's one of the best. Everyone that comes around at Christmas Day, on Christmas Day, Duncan, I was boasting your hack. Yeah. Going, watch this. Yeah. Watch this. So see that curls up at the side. It is. Now.
Famously, you can't do anything with baking paper because it has its own personality. It wants to not do anything in terms of allowing you to shape it. So if you scrunch it into a ball and then unscrunch it, you can do what the hell you like with it. I learned that by accident because I'll tell you the story briefly. I got so fed up with not being able to get it to mould in the centre of the baking tin. I screwed it up in a tantrum and then I unscrewed it. Really? And I thought, oh, this works. So there you are. That's the story.
you didn't regale the story like that on the podcast, though, because I was saying I learnt it from Prick with a Fork. It just goes to show you do learn things on the world's only sausage podcast. But I did when you told it, you didn't say that you'd got pissed off with it. And
I was pretty hacked off at the time, but I learned something. So I've got 2 on the plate here. You have as well. When I took them out of the oven, and I've seen what they look like when they come out of the oven, you haven't, because you got Mrs. M to cook for you, basically. There was a little bit of fat, but they looked tremendous. And actually, unlike a lot of sausages, when you bake them in the oven, they've kept their size. A lot of sausages go smaller. These have remained. I mean, they're chunky, right? They're like the HGV of the sausage world, these bangers.
They are. It reminds me of that scene in The Spy Who Loved Me when Richard Keel grabs Roger Moore's face.
Yeah.
It's almost as if these sausages look like Richard Keel's fingers.
I like that. I've got the imagery. Right. I've already had 2 of these, so I'm not going to be too gluttonous by starting it, but I think you ought to. So take it away. What do you make of these so far? Have a little, have a chomp.
Right. Well, going through to the smell.
Yeah.
They do smell amazing. Holding it up, even cooked, it stays solid. This is definitely, it looks already like a breakfast sausage or a bangers and mash.
Yeah.
And funnily enough, Lizzie, Mrs. M, and my little boy Hugo are having these and mash for dinner this evening.
They will not be disappointed.
She'll get to sample those too. So the warning about us tasting sausages and chewing, it is because that sometimes upsets people, doesn't it? And
we've got, because this is going on the All About Sausages Substack, which I've mentioned elsewhere on this podcast. The subscribers to that, and it's free to subscribe, by the way. Don't feel that the word subscriptions means you have to fork out. I mean, you can if you want. I might get around to doing some exclusive content, but I doubt it. But subscribe, because it is free of charge. Already some of the subscribers, you can see where they are in the world. So we should say to people listening, if you're not familiar with this, when we taste the sausages, you're going to hear a lot of chomping and sausage noises. And some people, well, I got an RC email from someone a couple of years ago, I can't listen anymore because of how the sounds you make and how you eat. It's like, well, I don't want you listening if you get offended by it. Right, what do you make of it so far? Yeah, sod off. I mean, it's a sausage podcast. You know, we try sausages.
Peggy Mitchell, get out of my pub!
Yeah, go on, do one. Right, have you tried one yet?
Headphones. Yes, here we go. So, the coating has got a bite, a crunch to it.
Oh.
It's quite a coarse filling, actually. It can be smooth or quite coarse. It actually disintegrates quite quickly, actually, and I tend to be swallowing it quite quickly. The taste is very good. The fat you mentioned earlier, though, Duncan.
Yep.
That's already now on a circumference, like a radius of my lips. Now I can sort of feel that, and whilst I don't mind it, it's a tad off-putting.
Well, you got a beard there, so you're going to have fat residue on your whiskers. I shaved my beard off about a year ago. I might bring it back, just to hide the double chins. So I'm with you so far. They are quite moist in terms, so the fat hasn't leaked out. What we should say is on the packaging, it does state very clearly, do not prick the sausage skin, and that's right. And
did it? I didn't
it does say that. And the reason, if you're listening and you don't know why, if you prick the sausage skin, the fat runs out, and therefore you end up potentially with a dry sausage. It's the fat that keeps a sausage moist. So that's why you shouldn't prick it. I also noticed under the cooking instructions that they believe the best way to cook these sausages is under the grill. And you and I have done it in the oven because we think that's the best way. What else are you tasting there?
The sage is, but it's faint. I've had better.
Well, let me challenge you on this. You've had better. So, you know those sausages you and I rave about from the Waitrose fresh meat counter, which are the Gloucester old spot pork with sage. That's how they say it. The sage really comes through there, and that is because that is the key herb in that sausage. To be fair to Tesco and these ones, they're not branding it as, a pork and sage sausage. It's the sage is part of a load of other herbs. So I don't know, it doesn't bother me too much that I'm not getting a massive amount of sage. I tell you what I am also getting. What I am getting is a little bit of nutmeg and mace, a little bit of kind of like a fiery taste afterwards. Not when you bite into it, but after you've swallowed, kind of left with a, it's a little bit fiery. That, are you getting that at all?
I am, and the black pepper's there as well.
No.
That's where if I was to blind taste test, I might turn around to somebody and say, "Is this a Cumberland?" Whereas black pepper is the main accompaniment to a Cumberland sausage. And if you're a regular listener to Prick with a Fork, you'll have learned this over the years when Duncan started this through the pandemic. I think what's interesting as well about the pricking the sausage is then therefore the actual name of the podcast. Obviously, I know it has a double meaning. But at the same time, people, it's been a myth for years, isn't it? Oh yeah, if you're barbecuing a sausage, you better prick those. Yeah. But actually, it's the worst thing you can do. You shouldn't. No.
I should just say, Rory, I've been joined by Bertie, the almost sausage dog down here, because he smelt the sausages. I'm just going to feed him a little bit of sausage. There you are. Gently. Good lad. He wasn't too well over the weekend, but he's back to normal health now, so he's allowed sausages.
He's sweet. And he is a sausage dog as well.
Well, he's about 80% sausage and 20% terrier, but undoubtedly his personality is massively sausage. He's neurotic, he's nuts, he barks at the wind.
He's all boy.
What do you make of these, then?
Yeah, they're good. I definitely would buy them again.
Yeah.
I think I would... These on my sausage seesaw are leaning more towards a breakfast sausage. If there's such thing as a sausage.
We've only got a few minutes left, but I can't let that go without a bit more explanation. Tell me about your sausage seesaw, Rory. How does it work?
So one side is breakfast, the other side is dinner, basically. And dinner, therefore, meaning sausage and mash, toad in the hole, any other sort of sausage dinner that you want to put in there. But this for me is screaming full English. I can imagine this alongside some really nice smoked thick cut back bacon, some nice baked beans, some hash browns, the black pudding, some nice mushrooms. Yeah, bit of toast. This would really hit the mark, I think, as a breakfast sausage. For me, it's a solid 7. I might even notch it up to an 8.
I'm definitely going for 8. Definitely going for 8 on this.
No, I'm going to go 7 then, I think.
8 out of 10 for me. I like it for all of the reasons you said. I can imagine that. I'd be delighted if this was on my breakfast plate in the morning. I'd equally be delighted if this was in one of my favourite big white bowls with a load of creamy mash and some onion gravy, maybe some peas in there. I'd be delighted with that. I don't think I'd want it in a sausage sandwich. I don't know why. I just think it deserves more than just being a sandwich. It deserves to be part of something. It's quite an event, isn't it?
It is. No, I'd quite happily take this in between toasted bread or in a warm baguette. I tell you where I think this sausage would really work as well, and that's on a barbecue. We don't often talk about barbecue sausage. I know you mention them from time to time, and we tend to hone in on a breakfast or dinner. But actually, barbecuing, like I've always said, is about practice. It's a bit like the way your mother's Sunday roast is always the best, and that's because if you times the amount of weekends in a year, which is 52, including Christmas, of course, times that by the amount of years you've been on the planet, and that's how many times your mother's had a go at making a Sunday roast. Whereas barbecuing, it's the same. Bit of practice, and you can nail things like this. And I think that would make a really good barbecue sausage, actually. But of course, in this country, we're going to have to wait a couple of months for that. Well, but it's also going down well with this this cider, actually.
Yeah, you're quaffing away there. Just picking up on the barbecue thing. I mean, I think last year I got a gas barbecue, which I always said I wouldn't do, being a little bit Neanderthal. It's like, fire, man, make fire. But I've got this, and I've decided I just need a couple more weeks of it not being so bloody bleak. I'm not worried about it being dark in the evenings. It's just cold, isn't it? And I'm going to start doing a lot more barbecuing during the week. I'm just gonna because I'm a man of I'm a freelance man of leisure these days. That once I've done my writing or I've done whatever I have to do media wise, I've got nothing else to do, so I can just fire up the gas barbie and eat vast amounts of meat.
You'll thank yourself for it. I mean, a bit of butterfly chicken breast and stuff. There's all sorts of lovely, and at least with gas you can control the heat a bit more. I mean, I tend to have both. I've got a kettle coal barbecue, and I have the 4-burner gas version as well. And I think each, like everything in life, even the way the air fryer, for example, is now a big thing. It hasn't quite gone to the back of the cupboard like the sandwich maker or the George Foreman.
Yeah.
It still seems to be punching above its weight. And I know people are cooking sausages, for example, in air fryers, but I think a barbecue is almost, apart from the full English breakfast plate, next for me. I know there's bangers and mash and all that, but a barbecue is where a sausage belongs.
I think you're right. I think you're right. So to conclude then, let's just wrap this up in terms of reminding people what they are. Tesco Finest. Don't get confused with the Tesco Finest that come in a smaller pack. These are Tesco Finest 4 signature pork sausages. It's in a brown box, right? Rich and succulent. I've not even been drinking the cider. £4 for 4 of these. However, if you like Rory and you got your club card, £3.50. We didn't mention they're gluten-free, so that's always useful to know, isn't it, for those who need to be aware of that kind of stuff.
That'll be why my niece needs gluten-free food.
Right.
So that's why Claire, my sister, would have bought them.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure. I'll have to check that with her. But right, okay. See, this is why it's useful you telling us this stuff, Duncan.
It is, and we should say thank you to Claire for suggesting we check them out for ourselves to find out how lush they are. So I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. You're going for 7. You sticking with 7?
I am going to stick with 7. I mean, 7. It means they're not very. No, they are good. They're a bit sticky. They're a bit fatty, and I know that you could sort of say, well, it's a sausage, it's supposed to be fatty.
Oh, let me do that. Well, it's a sausage, it's supposed to be fatty.
Oh, well, all right.
What are you, a bloody vegan? What's the matter with you?
I'm a staunch lefty.
God.
And I'm your friend.
That explains the beard.
I'm the only staunch lefty friend you've got.
For now.
That's why I used to live in Wokingham in Berkshire.
Oh, dear. Right, so it's all right. You don't have to justify your 7 out of 10, but you're sticking with your 7 out of 10.
I am, yeah. Yeah, you've gone for 8, I've gone for 7, so therefore the mean value it scored a 7.5 out of 10, which I think's fair because, I'm just being honest. But this is the beauty of this one. People themselves can now go out to try these. Yeah. And then message you, respond to the podcast to see whether or not they thought 7 was fair, 8 was fair. What do you think when you try them yourself?
Exactly that. So get them from Tesco. A bit of research earlier indicates to me that every Tesco, certainly the big superstores, stock them. You might not get them in their little shops, but the big superstores do them. Try them for yourself and let us know. Rory, thank you.
Cheers, Duncan.
Prick with a fork.
Lovely job. Cheers, Rosa. More from Rosa and more sausage tasting on a future episode of Prick with a Fork. That is it for this one. Listen, I really hope you've enjoyed it. Apologies once again, it's taken so long to get another episode made, but I'm resolute. We'll do it on a monthly basis going forward. And a reminder, social media, you want to get in contact on Instagram, the Duncan Barkes. That's where you find me in a personal capacity. On Facebook, we have our own Facebook page. It is called Prick Fork. Very simple. Just search for Prick Fork. And the thing I really would appreciate your support with is Substack, because I really think it's the way forward. It's a place online where we can have the podcast, we can have the pictures, we can have the recipes. I can write some words as well. So search for Substack. And then when that comes up, search for All About Sausages. I will appear in all of my glory. And you can read what's already there, but please subscribe. It won't cost you a penny. There are various levels of subscription, but everything I've done so far is a free subscription. It's free to read. Some people have been kind enough to subscribe financially, but you don't need to do that. It's just a mechanism that exists on Substack. But subscribe free of charge. And the best thing about it is whenever there is a new update, so a new podcast, a new bit of writing or whatever, you instantly get notified via email. and you can read it on a Substack app, or you can just read it online anyway. So go to Substack and search for All About Sausages. Right, that is it for this one. Thank you for listening, and happy sausage eating.
Oh, we've got bangers and snorkers. I'm so in love with those porkers. Sizzle or fry, that's what I like. As long as it's real, you'll never butcher my pride. I love my blood sausage, whether black or white. I'm like a hot dog in mustard. Since a new way of stuffing I've discovered. Oh, bratwurst is fine, bratwurst delights. Cumberland rocks with an onion side. Salami, boudin, Savoy, I'm a pig hog high. Oh yeah, la la la. As long as it's in a skinny